Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the rumor that I heard today in regards to Joel Embiid and the Miami Heat starting to gain steam. Basically, it has been said that the Philadelphia 76ers have concluded that everything has gone basically to crap, and now they may have to just blow it up right now. Like, blow it all the way up. Trade Joel, trade James, trade everything. Or just trade Joel. And that is not where I saw this heading, but it does uh, kind of make sense in some ways, even though I know they're trying to, at this point, to move James Harden. But from what I understand, there may be some other things that could be in play, and of course, naturally, other teams will now keep their ears open to see if Joel is indeed moved, and Miami's definitely one of them. Now, the package that is floating around, uh, I'm not able to really wrap my head around something, and I think that's really what I'm here to bring to you all. It's not that I have certainty or I come with a strong opinion. It's that I've been thinking about something for a couple of days, and I don't know yet what the conclusion is, and this is that. What is Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat worth to the market? And can you move him as if he's a superstar? And is he viewed as one when it's time to make trades? Now, I've been mulling over this for a couple of days because I'm looking at various different things that the Miami Heat have, and I'm trying to gauge what the value is. Now, I know what Jimmy's value is, but I also know that Jimmy is not on the trade market for any reason at all. Um, Tyler Hero, I have some understanding and gauge what his value is on the market, based on the talks about him possibly being moved for Dame Lillard. So that makes sense to me. But when I listen to people talk about Bam Adebayo, I have to admit that I don't know if I understand his value in this league based on a a conclusion that I've yet to come to in regards to what he brings to the table. I'm somewhere in between. Bam Adebayo is an above average center, but not a superstar. I have him in a lane, and mind you, these players are in different places in their careers, but I try to put them in their prime aligned so that it'll make sense. Al Horford, Demonis Sabonis, Brooke Lopez, like that's the lane I have him in. That's not Jokic. That's not Joel. That's not Giannis. You see what I'm saying? Like that's where I have Bam. But when I look at what Bam brings to the table, I say, okay, two sides of the ball. So you know he's taking care of things on the defensive side of the ball. You know he's had Defensive Player of the Year more than once, if I'm not mistaken. And then you say, okay, team success. Well, you know for sure that his team has been in the finals multiple times in this decade. You see that his team has been in the Eastern Conference Finals in the years they don't make the finals, even more than that. So the success is there. And then you look at the games played. It's like, all right, he doesn't miss games very much. He's durable. And then you look on the offensive end and you look at the intangibles. It's like, all right, he doesn't score much, but you can look at him as a glue guy. He does make plays for others. He can control the boards. And because he's so good defensively, scores can generally be low when the Heat are playing when he's on the floor. So he's going to affect things even if he's not scoring very much. Intangibles. I have to say that I'd still look at his numbers and I say there's no way that I'm looking at all of that and I'm trading him and maybe Tyler Hero for Joel Embiid in my mind. But when I look at what I expect, when I genuinely expect, is that he's going to be more reliable to be on the floor than Joel Embiid, and in the grand scheme of things will likely be playing longer as the season progresses because his team's going to be winning more. Now, does that translate? Does that make any sense when you consider we're talking about the MVP and Joel Embiid and a guy who statistically can put up all the numbers in the world? But I look at the results and I say, neither of them was won a championship, so you're going to have to understand that part. But can I get away with that being the best package for Joel Embiid? will that reflect in the market in such a way that allows me to feel like I've really genuinely made a good trade for him? And the problem is, in my first thought says no, because I don't value Bam that way. But when I remove the statistical aspects and I insert what has been shown from Bam, I have to admit that I think it's very easy to underrate him. And so I just say that I have no conclusion, and this is one of the only topics in the NBA where I genuinely feel this way about. But I can't tell you guys that I've seen enough Bam Adebayo to really know. That's what it really comes down to. I don't watch the Heat enough to assess him properly. But I look at the body of work and I say, he's a guy where wherever he goes, I do expect that he's going to be a defensive anchor for the team. I do expect that his team is going to be winning. I do expect that he's a good bet to stay healthier than some of the other guys in his position. Can he stretch the floor? I don't believe so. But then again, I have to cry ignorance. So this is one of those situations where I just say, man, I didn't watch enough Miami over the years to really know, but I did have him on my fantasy teams throughout the course of the seasons. And I know what he does statistically, and I know where he falls short. I look at him like, and this is going to sound like blasphemy to some because of the body of work and success, but kind of like DeAndre Ayton in that category. Rudy Gobert. You know what I mean? Like, that's really where I've had him in my mind's eye. People may have a bad taste in their mouth about those players, but I have a broader understanding of all the good that they bring to the table. Now, I don't have those same thoughts about Bam Adebayo as it pertains to his weaknesses being as glaring as some of those guys. But I can't say I elevate him above them in any way, based on what it is I believe he brings to the table without the team's success being attached to his name. So it's like, is he really that much better than those guys? Would they not have been in a position to prove themselves as well if they were in Miami? And I say, well, if they have the defensive glaring deficiency that he does not have, probably not. You know what I mean? And so I say to you, Miami Heat fans, should I trade Bam Adebayo for Joel Embiid, taking into account all that I just said? Do I really believe that this makes me a better team, even if I may slot him in and think of him as a better player? When I look at usage and expectancy of injuries, there is a good argument for Miami Heat fans saying I'm cool if it's going to cost me Bam Adebayo. Now, if you want to move Bam to the 4 and keep Joel somehow, that looks better on paper to me than moving Bam Adebayo out to bring Joel in. Based on what it is I think Bam brings to the table intangibly. You see what I'm saying? I'm not moving my Al Horford. I'm not moving my Domantas Sabonis. These are players I'm keeping on the team not only because they're star level players, but because they're essential to winning. And so for me, it's like, that's how I have Bam slotted. And I'm not necessarily certain that even though I'm bringing in Joel Embiid, I can count on him. And if he's not on the floor, then, obviously our team is going to be very bad. Bam you're not going to necessarily have that problem because you expect Bam to be out there. Now, anything can happen injury-wise, and we're talking about the MVP, so he brings a lot more good than bad in Joel Embiid. So you know yourself to be bringing in a better asset. If you're just the franchise overall, this is a slam dunk if you can bring in Joel Embiid for any reason, for any package. And that's the problem. Because it looks better asset-wise than it does for the course of an 82-game schedule plus playoffs, in my opinion. I don't know that I'm building a championship team if I bring in Joel Embiid and send Bam out. I don't know that. I may have gotten an upgrade at that position, but I'm not sure I actually got better. So when I look at that aspect of it, it's like, okay, well, that's a great argument for it being a good trade package, because you can argue that you're not necessarily making Miami better, even though they have to give up Bam and another all-star level player in Tyler Hero, of whom is probably being assessed poorly by the market anyway. I don't think they're taking into account just how high his ceiling can go. And so it's a lot to consider, but at the end of the day, For me, I look at Bam in so many different ways in regards to how to view whether or not I should trade him, period, let alone trade him to Philly for Joel Embiid, to where I come to you guys and just say I have an inconclusive understanding of what Bam means to the market, but I know that I'm not certain I want to move him to Philly in exchange for the MVP of the league and Joel Embiid. I'm not sure I would do that if I were Miami Heat. And if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers, I don't know that I think that's the best package for Joel Embiid. In fact, I think it's not. And I've been mulling over the idea that it's a bad package for Joel Embiid because of what we just discussed in Bam and how I assess him as a player. I'm not going to trade prime Al Horford necessarily. Well, prime Al Horford, that's different. No, that's not a good way to assess it because he was a much higher level than what it is that would make sense to be. But I don't know exactly how to view that because he's above those guys. But at the end of the day, Bam Adebayo and where I slot him as a player, I don't have him as a top 25 player in the NBA. It's essentially what I'm saying to y'all. I don't even know that I have him as a top 50 player in the NBA. I don't know that. But that doesn't mean that he's far away from that. If he's not in the 50, he's like 55. You know what I mean? It's like he's not out of there. But I have to assess it. I haven't fully assessed it. And what it really comes down to, for me, if I have that many questions about his value, then if I'm Philly, that's likely not a great package for Joel Embiid. It's likely not a great package. And there's been part of this equation where I've thought about this and I've had very serious opinions in that direction. Like, hell no. It's been part of what I'm thinking and assessed today. But, I pull myself off of that ledge because I do value the results of a Bam Adebayo team from year to year to year to year. I really value what it is I'm seeing there, how much he contributes to that every year. It's not to be taken lightly. Jaren Jackson Jr. type stuff, like that's the lane. That's where we're at. And so I tell you, that's a better example. Am I trading Jaren Jackson Jr. and say whatever's equivalent of Tyler Hero with the Memphis Grizzlies, whatever that equivalent is, for Joel Embiid? If I'm Philly, am I okay with that? Am I taking back Jaren and am I taking back, I don't know who the player would be, man, because I don't think they have that equivalent. But if they had Tyler, am I taking that back? I almost want to say yeah, to be honest with you. I almost want to say yeah. And so if I value Bam the same way I value Jaren, which I don't know that I do because I think Jaren stretches the floor more, younger, but I still think it's probably a good trade if you were to trade Bam and Jaren for one another. Not to say anyone's doing that because they are not. But if you were to do so, I think you could do that straight up. I think you could. But there's something to take into account, and that's Bam's contract. I don't know how much of that is worked into the collective bargaining agreement in regards to what we've talked about many times on this channel, which is that his contract is one of those contracts where you can't necessarily move it if another like contract is attached to that team that you're trading it to. I don't know if that's still in the new collective bargaining agreement, of course, because it's a new one. So if that's still in place, that can make it so that Bam's contract is not necessarily desirable. Ben Simmons had that same issue. There's a few other players around the league who had that issue as well. But I don't know if that continues going forward, if an extension is signed, or I have no idea how that works. So keep that also in mind as an unknown in regards to this opinion. So yeah, man, I got, it's the off season, and it's a lot to understand about what has changed in regards to that agreement, and it would assess whether or not a certain decision would make sense nowadays, rather than maybe 6 months ago when we've had some of these conversations. But as far as I can tell, Joel Embiid to Miami for Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, it's an arguable thing there. You can make an argument that is an acceptable package for Joel Embiid, given that it is understood that he is unhappy in Philly, coupled with James Harden also being and unhappy in all of the circumstances that are going with that, it can bring down their value in such a way to where that would be a very good package. You know what I'm saying? Now, if there were no chaos that would affect that price tag in my mind in regards to whether or not I take it, but given that we have all this chaos, that is definitely worked into the price. So, yeah, man, I think it's so reasonable. It's reasonable to think that we're in a 50-50 space. You know, I think that this could be potentially a bad idea for both teams, just in general. You're moving these type of players. These are cornerstones of both franchises. To probably mean more to the franchises they're on than the teams they would be going to. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I don't know if you're Miami, you'd love to have Joel. You're definitely committing to paying Joel. He's gonna get his money. I almost think the same thing with Philly and Bam. I almost feel like the same thing. I think Bam Adebayo and Philly, you have to understand that Bam is a shorter player. You know when you're moving Joel Embiid, you're letting 7'1" to 300 pounds out the door. You're bringing in Bam, he's like 6'9". You know what I'm saying? So that's a really, really different piece. He still plays huge. We know he plays the center position just fine. He's going to defend better than everybody, so it's not a big deal. But that's the point. You're losing a lot of size, and it's going to reflect on the floor for Philly. And you just got to understand you're bringing in a lesser offensive player. So, bringing in Tyler Hero could be a solution there, making up the difference in scoring. But you're definitely bringing in an entirely different dynamic that I don't know if Philadelphia necessarily is going to make as much sense with Bam on the team in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. So that's one of those situations where it's like, look, Philly, I would listen to other offers. I would not necessarily take that as the first offer. Bam and Tyler Hero probably are a good offer, but there will be other offers, and I think those offers could be better. That's really what it comes down to. I'm not sitting up here saying, no, Miami, we're slamming the door. Because the first thought I had, you guys, and I was going to make this video early this morning, and the first thought that I had is, if Miami doesn't have the package to get a deal done for Dame Lillard, how in the heck are they going to get a package done for Joel Embiid? But that's not necessarily, it doesn't look like that, because you're trading certain pieces from the team, and if you assess certain things a certain way, then you may value being able to move a center for a center versus trying to move a guard for a guard. You know what I mean? It's just a different dynamic that'll make you assess it a different way if you're trying to build your team. So the answer is Miami may have a more attractive package as to which they're willing to move Bam Adebayo in the trade for Joel Embiid. They would not necessarily be willing to move Bam Adebayo for Dame Lillard, hence why they would otherwise have the package for Joel but not Dame. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I had to answer that and make it make sense, because I'm like, yo, that the first thought I had is, hell no, they don't have the package. But the reality is they definitely do if they're moving Bam and Tyler Hero. And you look at Portland, you say, well, would you take Bam? Would they, if they would be willing to move Dame for Bam? And it becomes a situation where you say, well, for Portland, probably not. I mean, that is an attractive defensive lineup that you have when you consider putting Grant and Bam together. Obviously, you're moving Nurkic in that situation. Now you got more offensive opportunities for more offensive talent, which you do have in Scoot. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but you don't think that's something that Miami would be willing to do. And you move Bam and you're not bringing back a center. What the hell are you doing? He's going to be shooting jumpers all day. So, no, you definitely want a center for a center, and that's why you do that. So yeah, that's kind of how I assess it at this point. It's just not, that's not something I think what Miami would be willing to do. But if you're Portland, you might consider it. But I just don't think that would be on the table for you. Is there a world where after Joel Embiid gets traded to Miami, Miami then has some 3-team, 4-team deal that can also help them attach Dame Lillard to that situation and have Dame and Joel play in Miami? I don't know that that package would be at all possible without mortgaging so many future picks for Miami. Obviously, you have to consider what Jimmy Butler's value would mean in that once people start talking about what the heck that means to what it means to make that happen. Um, so my thought would be probably no. It has to be either or in my opinion, because I don't see them wanting to move on from Jimmy. That's what it really comes down to. I'm not moving Jimmy for Dame. If I was moving Jimmy for Dame, I'd have did that already. You know what I mean? That's kind of how that goes. I don't see a world where Jimmy's not in Miami at the end of this process. I think he's the mainstay. I really do. And you consider Joel Embiid played with Jimmy in the past, and I think he wished they re-signed Jimmy there in Philadelphia. So I think the idea is for him to be going to Miami and pairing himself up with Jimmy Butler, if this rumor has any truth to it as it pertains to his desires. I haven't heard of him mentioning any teams of any kind or any trade demands of any kind. So from where I'm at, all I can tell in regards to Joel is that he's taking people off of his Twitter, IG, and his, all of his handles are clear of Philadelphia's stuff. So that's the only tea leaf I have here. So judging by that, that tells me he's unhappy with James Harden's circumstances, and now all the rumors are circling that he could be on the move himself. So I tell you guys, if you think I'm surprised by all of this, you ain't been following me at all, because we've had so many conversations about this lately in regards to Joel Embiid. What I think he should do is exactly what I think should happen. He should be wanting to get the heck out of it. Now, I don't know if I'm Philadelphia, I'm moving him to the Eastern Conference. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably going to try to move him west. But that's just me. That's just me. I think the universe that we're in, the YouTube universe and the media world would probably love to see him in Miami or in New York. But I'm telling you, the teams in the Western Conference probably have better packages too. When you talk about teams like San Antonio, teams like OKC, Houston, Utah, if I hadn't already said them, probably said them first. Those are the teams that I legitimately think can make a move. Like I said, Memphis, if they were to do something crazy, those are the teams that have better packages than Miami and New York. Now, New York is a whole other story. I got to say, New York can outbid a lot of those teams with the picks that they have. Because if I'm not mistaken, they have 7 first-round picks in the future that are tradable right now. So if they want to make a move for Joel, they can surely do that. But I don't know that if I'm Joel, I want to go to the Knicks. That's a lateral franchise situation, man. You're just going to go from one kind of bad spot to another kind of bad spot. And that's kind of how I see it. But I think at the same time, you got to look at the New York Knicks and say it's a new day, because quite honestly, Jalen Brunson is the truth, man. So all of that can go bye-bye if he continues to get better, and he could be. He could legitimately be the difference in everything that we understand about the Knicks, in my humble opinion. Him and Quickly, if they can empower Quickly a bit more, I think those guys could both potentially be really, really high-level stars. So I don't know how the Knicks want to shape things up. I'm not in love with Thibodeau being there anymore. I'm pretty sure he's probably, if he doesn't have a good season, he's probably going to be fired this year. But, I just think the Knicks have some interesting pieces. Julius Randle's still there. It could be another all-star season for him, even though I know he has issues with I think ankle or something. I'm not really sure what type of injury it is, but he's dealing with something that he's healing from. So, man, I just look around and I say there are other packages. At the end of the day, if you're going to move Joel Embiid, there are other packages. But if I'm trying to choose between the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks, it's going to be very easy for the Knicks to win that trade war. I don't think Miami can win that. Not between them and not when they start talking about those picks. I don't think Miami even has that many to offer. So it's going to be interesting, man, if it does come down to an Eastern Conference team. But you got to look out for the Utahs that have all the picks in the world. Utah, OKC, you can never, ever rule out a superstar being possible for one of those two teams, because they just got picks for days, man. Celtics, picks for days, man. And so I don't think Joel would necessarily want to go to any of those teams. Or that's necessarily what it is. But OKC is interesting to me, man. Low key. They're interesting because they can use a center. They got their power forward, small forward, shooting guard, and point guard position solidified for the next 10 years if they want to pay those dudes. They're all going to be superstars. If they find a way to slot in Joel Embiid, they got an NBA championship team, man. So I don't know if people are looking at things like that. Obviously, leaving Philadelphia, go to OKC, that's an entirely different culture, entirely different world. I don't know if he would love that. But the basketball floor, it would never lose, man. And Chet Holmgren and Joel Embiid, they never lose. So I don't know what people are dreaming about, but maybe he slows them down. I'm not a great basketball mind, but I'm telling you, the roster itself, that looks crazy to me. That's nuts. With Case and Wallace coming off the bench, players like that, I mean, they're deep forever. If you're Philly, you would love to make a trade with them. Sam Presti, you probably would love to attract an asset like Joel Embiid for a million reasons anyway. So if he doesn't mind living in a place like that, I think that's a great place for him to go, man. And you can't rule out New Orleans as well with Zion. That's interesting. So I'm running out of space, unfortunately. You know how my phone is. We talk about it all the time, but the rumors could start to fly when you start talking about Joel Embiid and where he could go and the teams that could be interested in picking him up. And I think Miami and New York, those are sexy names, but there are better opportunities to get better trade pieces and be on better teams for Joel. So I always tell teams, keep your eyes open for opportunities, because if you have flexibility, you can win these type of situations. And here we are, another unexpected turn. Joel Embiid potentially, with the rumor being out there, could be on the move. So that's what I got to say. Video 44. Thank you all for watching.